I'm standing frozen, my heart racing, as my mother's words cut through the air like a knife, her voice trembling with a mix of sorrow and anger. You don't talk to me anymore, I'm going to fix the marriage issues between your father and me. The sound of her tears, the desperation in her tone, it's all so familiar, yet so suffocating. I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of emotions, unsure of how to respond, unsure of how to escape. I was born into an unhappy marriage, a union that seemed to be held together by my mother's desire for children and my father's sense of duty. My mother worked with children, mostly those with disabilities, while my father was a policeman, a man who seemed to be absent even when he was physically present. I remember fragments of my childhood, moments of joy and laughter, but also moments of fear and anxiety. I was a sensitive child, fascinated by phones and technology, but my eccentricities often made me a target for bullying. My preschool years were tough, with punishments and humiliations that left me feeling lost and alone. As I grew older, things only got worse. My mother pushed me to overexert myself, to reach my limits, and beyond. She would criticize me, call me names, and make me feel like I was worthless. I was a demon, a hellspawn, unworthy of love or acceptance. I began to doubt myself, to question my own worth, and I started to develop a deep-seated hatred for myself. My mother's words, her actions, they all seemed to confirm my worst fears, that I was unlovable, that I was a burden. Middle school was a nightmare. I was bullied, mocked, and belittled by my peers. My mother's response was to blame me, to tell me that I was the problem, that I needed to change. She never listened, never tried to understand me. She just kept pushing me, kept demanding more and more from me. I started to feel like I was losing myself, like I was disappearing into a void of self-doubt and anxiety. It wasn't until I reported the bullying that things started to change. My father, who had been absent for so much of my life, finally stepped in. He helped me to report the bullying, and we waited for the consequences to unfold. But even as we waited, my mother's behavior remained unchanged. She continued to criticize me, to blame me, and to make me feel like I was the problem. I became withdrawn, isolated, and suicidal. I felt like I had no way out, no escape from the heck that was my life. My mother's response was to tell me to pray, to seek solace in God. But I had already lost my faith, already realized that I was an atheist. Her words, her actions, they only made me feel more alone, more adrift. It wasn't until I started therapy, until I found a safe space to express myself, that I began to heal. I learned to recognize my emotions, to understand my needs, and to set boundaries. I started to rebuild myself, to rediscover who I was, and what I wanted. But my mother's behavior remained unchanged. She continued to interfere, to manipulate, and to control. When I confided in my teacher, when I told him about the abuse and the neglect, he seemed to understand. He promised to help me, to support me, but his actions were misguided. He tried to fix my relationship with my mother, to reconcile us, without realizing that it was too late. The damage had been done, and I had already made up my mind. I was done with my mother, done with the abuse, and done with the neglect. As I stand here, frozen in time, I know that I have a long and difficult road ahead of me. I will have to confront my mother, to set boundaries, and to protect myself. I will have to navigate the complexities of my own emotions, to forgive myself, and to heal. But I am ready, I am strong, and I am determined. I will not let my mother's abuse, her neglect, define me. I will rise above it, I will overcome it, and I will thrive. The sound of my mother's voice, the memory of her words, they still haunt me. But I am no longer the same person, no longer the vulnerable child that I once was. I am a survivor, a warrior, and a thriver. I will not let my past define me, I will not let my mother's abuse control me. I will rise above it, I will overcome it, and I will shine. As I look to the future, I know that I will face many challenges. I will have to navigate the complexities of my relationships, to set boundaries, and to protect myself. I will have to confront my mother, to tell her that I will no longer tolerate her abuse, her neglect. I will have to be strong, to be brave, and to be courageous. But I am ready, I am prepared, and I am determined. I will not let my mother's actions, her words, define me. I will rise above it, I will overcome it, and I will thrive. I will find my own path, my own voice, and my own strength. I will learn to love myself, to forgive myself, and to heal. I will become the person that I was meant to be, the person that I deserve to be. And so, I ask you, was I right to cut contact with my mother, or should I have tried to reconcile our relationship?
If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Drop your verdict in the comments below, subscribe for new stories every single day, and hit the notification bell so you never miss one.